If I can find compassion and love for myself on the hardest days when I wish I had done something different or said something different or I have regrets, that's the healing. That is the healing. It's not forgetting about the people who are gone and just moving on with your life and considering that healing. It's how do you integrate those experiences into your life and into your heart now and move forward in the life that you have today with all of that. You bring it with you.
Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to one belief that you have the power within to create everything you seek. So if you are ready to step into a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with me. I'm your host, Rudi Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. Today's conversation is about healing, presence, surrender, and the extraordinary intelligence of the heart. My guests are award-winning filmmakers Dana Croschere and Krisanna Sexton, the co-founders of Live Wild Films and the creative team behind the powerful new documentary, Rescued Hearts. The film began with a moment where Dana witnessed a 7-year-old child diagnosed with autism speak his very first words while connecting with a horse. That experience launched Dana and Krisanna on a journey to understand miracles, mystery, and the emerging science behind horse-human connection. Today, we are going behind the making of Rescued Hearts to explore why horses can reach places within us that words often cannot, and what they may be teaching us about authenticity, nervous system regulation, connection, and more than anything to me, love. Welcome, Dana and Croschere and Krisanna Sexton. I'm so grateful to have you on the Empowered Life Podcast to share your beautiful message and your body of work.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rudy. It's an incredible honor to be here.
I, in full transparency to my audience, hounded you to be on this podcast, and you have gone through just one of the most excruciating years while experiencing some of the greatest successes. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. I know that it has been a tremendous amount. A lot of that will unfold within the episode of the podcast today, but I want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge time. I want to acknowledge your presence. And then I want to acknowledge the body of work that you've put forward. Obviously, to create something that's going to be this public is going to take a tremendous amount of courage. And there would be a lot of resistance and a lot of learning and a lot of growing. And I want to unpack all of that today, but I have to start with the very beginning of the story. So Dana, I'm going to throw this to you. You're spending time with this young boy with autism, and he speaks for the very first time, and you see the connection between the boy, the horse. How did that moment really support you in awakening? And what was it that really awoke within you that ultimately birthed this incredible journey?
Wow. Thank you for the question. I'll never forget that day. It was so many years ago, and I felt something in me completely shift in that moment because it was something that I didn't understand about horses, but I could feel in my heart. There was something about the connection with these animals that was beyond words. And so when this boy started speaking his first words, I think we were all in shock. His parents were there. There was a therapist that was working with the boy for all this time. He had never spoke before, and I was in the arena with him. I was leading the horse. And so when he started speaking, it wasn't to any human. It was to the horse. And so in that moment, I think what awakened in me is when people feel safe. And a lot of times animals can provide us a level of safety that sometimes humans cannot. I think that's when miracles can really unfold, is in that level of safety, in that incredible presence, and when we are being accepted for the truth of who we are, not for what someone or something expects us to be. Mm.
Oh, I want to unpack the truth of who we are in a moment, but I have to throw this to Krisanna for a second because so many people I think that are going to see this movie, and I hope and pray with every fiber of my being that everybody goes to watch this movie,
Mm.
is that we're not all horse people. And we don't all know and understand horses at the level that, say Dana may have, having worked with horses for so long. And so I know that you did not have a depth of wealth and understanding of horses, and that you actually had fear around horses. And so I resonate with that. I have a yearning to know and understand horses, but I have a very healthy level of respect. I would love for you to speak a little bit about what was this journey like for you, and what kind of healing did you experience through this entire process as it unfolded as you brought this to life?
Mm. First of all, I love your heart. Thank you for how you feel all of this. It's actually really powerfully reflective for me to consider like how you're asking this. Cause when you're in it, like when you're in the moment, when you're just following your heart, it's not always that clear. And so to reflect back is really powerful. And I think I just learned maybe the hard way, especially in our journey creating our last film, Love Heals, to follow Dana's intuition. Because her intuition is incredibly powerful. It's very clear for her. It's like a deep knowing. And my like filmmaker brain and the way that I've been trained in stories, she doesn't have that same background. And so she doesn't get caught up in I don't know, I guess some of the limitations that can come along with like being a storyteller and telling a film in a certain way. So, yeah, when we started this film, she was like literally on her phone. That miracle that you talked about happened many years prior, and it always stuck with her. She would talk about it all the time. But she was like on her phone, activated by the science that was literally going viral about heart coherence and then how that relates to people connecting with horses. And so she was reading it to me, and I'm like, whoa, this is really intense. And I guess I'm sort of like a natural skeptic about most things. I think I'm open to a lot of things, but I really embody a skeptic's perspective because I want to understand it deeper and not just like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And I think there's probably wisdom in that. So, anyway, she was sharing that with me. And I thought, well, this would be interesting. Yeah. What if we just kind of explore what this is, and she was seeing it real time with volunteering that she had just recently started close to our house and what was happening with this young girl who had a lot of trauma in foster care, and horses have sort of been her saving grace. So as she's telling me all this, I mean, it gives me chills talking about it because it just felt like this is so natural. Yeah, we're storytellers and let's embark on this journey. And then as we started to do that, I realized, oh, I'm actually quite scared in these spaces with horses, and I have a lot of anxiety coming up, and then I'm learning about heart coherence and trying to, like, calm my heart rate down, except I can't because I'm really anxious. So it was sort of a comedy show in some regard, and in other ways, I felt like an imposter. Maybe there would be a better storyteller, someone better suited to tell this story who's more of a horse person. And in Dana and I's relationship, we've just sort of learned to trust each other. And she would tell me, "No, I think this is perfect because you're coming in without any background, and you're asking really different questions that I think a lot of people are curious about." And so for me, I never really felt we were like creating a film about horses per se, even though that's the opening. I felt like we were creating a film about the power of the heart. And so I went into every opportunity to document these humans and horses in these spaces, feeling like, let's just let whatever is meant to unfold, unfold, and trust that the heart's going to lead the way. Even when I'm nervous, I don't know that it's about me as much. I think there's something universal here that's going to just come through. But I didn't know what that was. So it required a lot of faith and trust, really, in Dana's vision. And then eventually in myself, I asked enough questions and I learned enough that I realized that fear and anxiety was actually less about the horses and more about my baseline operating system. I was operating at a level of anxiety and fear in most interactions that I had just normalized, and horses were amplifying that. So then I had a good deep dive, and I think I'm still in working that out within myself. Like, what does that mean for me? And how can I create safety within myself instead of constantly seeking it outside of me?
Oh my word. All right, Dana, I need you to unpack this for us, because she said so much that I feel like if someone wasn't listening close enough, it would go over their heads,
Mm.
and we could literally just replay that and then end the episode. I think there's so much value in that, because, in spiritual understanding of horses, that horses are not of this world. They are
Mm.
sentient beings, and they reflect back to us what we are seeing within ourselves, and they meet and match our energy equal to who and where we are. And, Danny, you showed up with love and openness because you've had all this experience and understanding and evidence of seeing this healing work. Krisanna, you came in with fear and you said nervousness, and then the horses reflected back to you. So I would love for you to unpack that a little bit for our audience. What do you mean when you say the horse meets your nervousness, or horses react to you, or a horse mirrors your energy? And how could somebody today open their heart more simply by understanding horses, let alone being in the proximity of horses?
Mm. That's a beautiful question. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is it's not up to the horse to regulate us, it's up to us to regulate ourselves first. And in that space, horses can feel safer even to interact with us because at the same time, these horses are prey animals. They really don't need anything from us. And if we go into that connection not really needing anything from them, but letting things unfold really organically, and like even just putting our hands on our heart and breathing into that space to help us get into more of a coherent pattern, horses would be more drawn to that than they would this dysregulated and nervous. But here's the caveat to that, Rudy, which I think is incredible about these sentient beings, is that they kind of know when you're telling the truth. So at the same time, if you are fearful or if you've had a bad day and you feel anger or you're going through something really hard in your life and you have a lot of grief, like showing up as your full authentic self actually makes them feel safe as well because you're not trying to be something you're not. And that's where I think that, yes, there is mirroring and other things that are happening. They'll reflect things back to you, but it's because they really have this way of like demanding authenticity. And so, what better way to learn more about yourself and how to connect with other beings, be it horses, other animals, other humans, than really understanding the depth of your own heart, your own soul? Like Krisanna said, how she was showing up in the world. And so, the funny thing is as horses would connect with Krisanna, what I found them doing wasn't necessarily mirroring her fear, but it was like curiosity because Krisanna also was pure. She wasn't hiding that she just was who she was. And so she'd walk into the space with her camera gear and like be uncertain about how horses were going to react around the gear. She thought, oh my gosh, what if this scares them? And so what they would do over and over again, I have so many behind the scenes videos of this, is they would walk right up to her and get right in her space and sniff the gear and just be so curious. And then I would watch her go, "Oh, okay. Maybe they're just as curious about me and my gear as I am about them." And so it just became this dance of like we just show up as who we really are, and that is where the connection becomes real, you know?
I want to back this up. For my audience that's been following me, I am recording this episode as the very first episode for the Empowered Life podcast being recorded in Montana as my wife and I have just moved onto 40 acres and are wanting to be immersed in all of what you are doing out and in the world. And I know that this is so serendipitous and it's just such a tip of the hat from the universe saying you're in the right place at the right time. I have been immersing myself in learning about horses and the cues and how they talk and how they show up and how you can read the signs and the body language and so on. And one of the things that I had heard was that when you are fearful, if you walk up to a horse pretending to be brave, but you're scared, then, you're going to get a essentially dysregulated experience or a dysregulated horse. But if you walk up to the horse and you have the energy of, hey, I am terrified, but you acknowledge, hey, I'm actually terrified. I'm here, but I'm terrified. The horse will be calm because
Mhm.
you're in your truth. And I just think about what a beautiful way of showing up. We understand that human connection is what everyone is seeking, and authenticity is the single highest vibrational frequency on the planet. And yet we're all pretending to be something else, wanting connection. And I just love that you had this experience. Krisanna, I want to ask you, having gone through this and not belaboring, but I would love to just put a bow on this. What was the experience like for you first showing up that way and then having this mirrored back to you? And as you said, you're still in the process of working through it and still healing, but I'm more curious, how has this changed who you are today away from horses? What does this look like in your everyday life as you are now wanting to connect to more authenticity, showing up as you being more open and vulnerable and comfortable with whatever's happening internally so we don't have to make the external assumption as to who or what you are or how you're feeling?
Yeah, it's hard to put words to it, isn't it? Because it's so embodied. It's such an experience. The amount of time we were immersed with horses, I would say even that was such a powerful unpacking because I was like you, learning the cues and I wanted to ask people the questions and all of that is valuable, valuable insight. And I realized horses are as different as we are. And each horse brings something different to the conversation. And it's all without words. And so I think what happened is I started to analyze my desire to have safety in the nonverbal and how I was analyzing other people and the nonverbal and maybe projecting a lot of my stuff onto those exchanges. You know, we even shared the film at so many events this last year as it's been released, like 50 events around the world. Some of them were in South Africa. And that was intense because I went from the intensity of filming horses to the intensity of being around really large groups of people who were very unpredictable. And I found that there was like a muscle growing in me of like, okay, find safety within. And if I would say there's like one mission in the film that for me the film is about and what has been most helpful for me is finding the power of heart coherence. And very quickly being able to go back into my heart, slow down my breath, bring about a feeling, some kind of regenerative feeling within myself. And I can do that anywhere with a horse, around a very large group of people. And that alone has been a really powerful tool to regulating my nervous system. And I think there's so much nuance to that. And there's so many things that I'm still exploring about myself. But I no longer wanted to be a victim of my nervous system and the trauma of my past. And I think horses, like being around them this much, helped me see there's a way to operate. And it like have a different operating system. And I think it's when we get out of the mind and we get into the heart. And so can we offer people this gift in our film? That's really what we're trying to do is invite people back to the heart and then give them some science, just enough science and just enough tools that they find their way in that.
So, could you, either of you, give the audience a simple tool or an exercise to get back into heart coherence? And I would love it if you could explain what does that even mean, because a lot of people
Mm.
may never have heard that before. I'm immersed in neuroscience, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and so for me that's like apple, orange. Like I'm so familiar with
Mhm.
it. We use it with our kids. But for somebody who's not aware, what does it mean? How do you achieve it?
Yeah, so I did a deep dive into this. I will not claim to be an expert. I am a filmmaker and storyteller first, but I will share it in the way that makes the best sense to me. The heart of this work and the place to go is HeartMath. They are the research organization that is behind all this. They are at the root of Joe Dispenza's work. Obviously, Dr. Joe is a force of good. We actually went to his 7-day meditation retreat in Australia, and that was at the starting this film. So it really activated for us so much of the science around that. So, of course, Dr. Joe is a deep dive into heart coherence. We actually have on our website like a PDF that gives you these 3 steps that I'll quickly share, but it's from HeartMath. So I just want to always give credit where credit is due. And HeartMath is a really, really powerful force of good in merging science and spirituality and trying to share the importance of this. So, heart coherence is essentially this idea that the brain and the heart are meant to be in sync. And there's so much I could share around that that I came to understand I don't think it's helpful. I think it's just knowing like that is a really potent system. When we get the mind out of the mind into the heart, especially, the heart is like the source of unconditional. It's like, okay, excuse my words here. I'm just going to try my best to put my language to it. The heart is like tapping us into the field of all that is. Like all wisdom, all knowledge, the thread that connects every soul in existence, the thing that connects us to everything. Many believe, and religions throughout history, most of spirituality believes is anchored in the heart. Well, science started to reinforce this. People that have sixth sensibilities and all this stuff, you can actually foster that gift when you get into your heart. So there's a lot, there's a deep dive, but really synchronizing the heart and the brain is really powerful because when we're up here, we're constantly in survival. We're trying to figure out everything. And that's why we're exhausted because we're not meant to do that. The heart just sort of knows the way and it's meant to lead this dance, I think, in life. So how we can facilitate that for ourselves. Again, a heart math practitioner is, I think, your best guide in really helping with these steps. But as I understand them, number one is you bring attention to the heart, awareness to the heart. So you might even put your hand on your heart and you feel that space. That is such a tiny organ, but such a powerful source in our bodies. And then you slow down your breath, 4 in, 4 out. And then the third step is instead of waiting for the world to give you a reason to feel a beautiful emotion like gratitude, peace, hope, compassion, you bring about that feeling within yourself. And they say gratitude, I think, is one of the most powerful because even when you're really struggling, you might be able to come up with a reason to be grateful for something. And so as you bring about that emotion, all of these parts of the body start to go into action. And there's a lot of science on that, even like the chemicals that are released in the body, how it promotes so many healing benefits. But for me, it's just about placing attention to my heart, slowing down my breath, and then bringing about that emotion. And if you do that for 3 minutes, it brings about effects in the body that can last up to 6 hours. So it's worth it to just learn that. And it's not just about meditative, right? So Heart Math is training trauma nurses and doctors and first responders and how to do this real time so that it actually activates them to get out of fight or flight when they're in a moment that they need to make a really, really important decision. There's so much there, and I'm sure you could even speak better to it than I can. But that's how I understand it, and that's what helps me. Even as we were filming, I would share with my family who was struggling with different things, like, just remember, focus on your heart, slow down your breath, bring about some kind of emotion. And I mean, it's helping people all over that don't even need to do the research. Just feel that feeling in your body, and then you kind of want it more and more. You want to feel that space of peace and serenity and like clarity that the mind often runs away with all these survival mechanics that are like keeping us anxious and stressed. So I hope that answers your question.
So beautifully. I want anybody who's listening to this on Spotify or Apple to head over to YouTube and to watch, because you'll actually see Krisanna's face like literally start to exude love as she speaks about it. And she changed physiologically. She changed as she was speaking. And so she's beaming, and you have to see it for yourself. I have so much I could add, but I think you so beautifully touched on it. And I want to keep the simplicity because I think simplicity is truth.
Mhm.
And if we just pause for a moment, like that in itself could change the world. I believe that everything that is ever happening at any given time is always preparing us for who we get to become. And life is about this unfoldment. And we think we're doing something for this reason, but really it's preparation or pre qualification. Dana, I know you have had quite possibly one of the most exhilarating years of your life and one of the most challenging years of your life. You lost your father. If anyone has watched the movie, they've already seen the unfolding of the journey, but you also recently lost your mother. I bring this up because I believe that the making of this movie has potentially created a profound volume of space for healing. And I would love to know, how did this movie really impact you and support you in that healing? Because I imagine it must have had an unbelievable impact in just how you've had to navigate something so difficult. And I ask this question as challenging as it is, because I know that there's somebody that's listening to this right now that is in the beginning of that pain journey, and you have a skill set now that we could all learn or leverage from that we'll have to use at some point.
I appreciate you bringing it up. I think too often we're afraid to talk about our grief and the hard things. And so, what created this film, I think, so beautifully was the level of vulnerability that was shared, not just through my story, but through so many others who trusted us to film with them and to bring their stories to the world. It's a very sacred journey. And so, in the spirit of being authentic, we have shared this, right? I had an incredibly healing experience with my dad that I hope people will take the time to watch in the film, because that ripple effect is changing lives and relationships all over the world as people watch what unfolded between me and my father with horses. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And so little did I know, not long after, I would lose him. And I think that it was so painful in one way because it was like the first loss of a parent. So that was a really deep wound for me, and it's not even been that long, right? It was just in January, we're only in July, and so I feel every time I watched the film, I would fall apart, and then I would somehow get to this place of so much gratitude, not only because of the healing that we experienced together, but because his legacy and our healing will ripple into the world, and there's this, like, just like I said, a beautiful legacy that I think is being left, and not everybody gets that. There are people in the world that don't have the opportunity to reconcile with a parent, or they have an estrangement with a child. Relationships are complicated. And I think that scene actually shows that really well, because our relationship was very complicated up to that point. And so I think that losing him was one thing to experience that was hard and challenging. And yet, because my dad suffered with chronic pain and was struggling, he had a surgery back in August that unfortunately he just never really healed from properly, and it was the demise of his life, and it's awful what happened. So it was a lot of unpacking with that, and then 11 weeks later, which was only 3 months ago now, my mom unexpectedly passed of cancer. Like, I didn't know she was gonna be leaving so soon, I'll say. And so when you lose both parents, it's like a whole unraveling of identity. Who am I without the people that I called my parents? So, with the people that could answer questions that I have about myself that I didn't ask enough of, right? And so the other thing is my parents were our greatest fans and gave us the most unconditional love, I would say, as individuals and as couples and as creators. My dad was so proud of the film, and he said if it helps even one person, then his level of vulnerability, which, by the way, he never showed before, was completely worth it. And then my mom wanted to know every detail, every screening. We would call her every time we were flying home from somewhere, and she just wanted to know everything. And she was such an incredible cheerleader. And so I think that in sharing the film and continuing this journey at one of the hardest times of my life, the film is reaching the places and the people I believe it's meant to. And I also believe that my parents on the other side can be a force of good as well for this film and in our lives. And I'm still exploring what that new relationship looks like as they've transitioned. That's very new to me. I don't know how to reconcile all of it quite yet. But I do believe that I'm on the journey of healing. And I think that as we share our grief and we're not afraid to hold the space and say their names. My dad was Frank and my mom was Judy, and I get to keep them alive in my life and in my heart. And it's not a burden when people bring this up. It's not going to bring up all these awful feelings that I wish they hadn't. It's like, how do we honor the people? I mean, in our lives, whether those were hard relationships or really good relationships, I think that it's so important to carry them forward in a way that is for our greatest and highest good. And so for me, it's keeping my parents alive through the journey of Rescued Hearts because my dad is in it and my mom was our greatest fan. And I do believe that this film and the level of vulnerability and what's woven in the spirit of authenticity and us sharing with our audience what is real. And what has been real is that our hearts are really hurting and they're incredibly grateful. Grief and gratitude can coexist. Joy and the pain can coexist, right? And so, if anything, I think that is the great awakening, and that is the awareness of life isn't always going to be expansion, it's going to be contraction too. And those two can also happen at the same exact time, like they have for us. So, as this film is reaching hearts around the world, and people actually want to see what we spent 2.5 years, 5 countries, 31 cities, blood, sweat, tears, energy, and all of the love in our hearts to create is being received, is being explored by people and received by people, not just for horse people, because every single person that we see in these theaters and as they watch online virtually, they can see themselves somewhere in the story. And when you can see yourself and you can feel that, this film really can be a healing transmission, literally through a screen, because it's real, because it's authentic, because the joy and the pain exists, because you're going to cry, but you're also going to laugh. And it's a beautiful journey. And so, what greater honor as a filmmaker and a storyteller than to give people that opportunity to really feel and to connect with their heart on a deeper level, or maybe to realize they're not alone, or understand that their trauma, like, is something maybe somebody else has experienced, right? We have so many Me Too's in whatever capacity that happen after people watch this film, or whether they have their own regrets that they're working through, or relationships that they really hope to heal, or grief because they lost someone they love, whether it's a child, a parent, a partner, any dear human in their life. That is the great equalizer. All of us are going to experience that at some point. So why not just be open and authentic and experience it together in community and love one another through it, and most importantly, love ourselves through it, especially on the hard days. If I can find compassion and love for myself on the hardest days, when I wish I had done something different or said something different or I have regrets, that's the healing. That is the healing. It's not forgetting about the people who are gone and just moving on with your life and considering that healing. It's how do you integrate those experiences into your life and into your heart now and move forward in the life that you have today with all of that. You bring it with you. It just makes me who I am. I've been through really hard stuff, as you probably witnessed in the film and in this last year, and it makes me who I am, and I'm really grateful for that.
There isn't a person listening to this
Mm.
episode that cannot feel and connect to your passion.
Mm.
And that only comes through experience. And that is so evident in the body of work that you have created. I was going to say the two of you, but there was an army behind you to be able to put this out and into the world. I think that the experiences that we have are for our evolution and unfoldment. But as I had mentioned, that pre qualification was so we could turn around, teach it, and share it. And when I look at the
Mm.
two of you, literally your lives with your first movie that you had put out, Love Heals, literally with the chronic back pain surgery, the healing journey of healing through love, and how many awards you won, and producing this incredible body of work now that happens to incorporate horses, but it really is just about love, life,
Mm.
people, this journey. You're able to turn around and teach it. I'm going to say something that I'm sure the audience is not expecting, but we look at the Michael Jackson biopic that is out, and it is the single largest grossing biopic of all time. It is $1.3 billion and counting. It has been so well received, and I think because the truth behind him is love, and that the
Mm.
world can resonate with love, and that you can shame and blame and place labels and falsities in front of things, but the world is clearly resonating with love. And I think that your movie is equal to that level of love. And my hope
Mm.
is that this becomes one of the largest, if not the largest, grossing documentary on healing and love and kindness and compassion and humanity, because there's so many lessons in it. And so now I think we've teased the audience enough. Please, please, please tell us, how can everybody watch this incredible body of work? I would love for you to dive into a little bit about that. We're going to add the links into the show notes, but you're about to have a pre sale, the screenings. Please tell us more.
Yeah, I wanna share all the details about this event. First, I wanna just acknowledge sort of, like, what got us here because, like, hearing Dana share about her parents, I can't just, like, move on from that. It's, like, the biggest thing that has happened in our lives, and when Dana's mom passed, we didn't know she was gonna pass, but we were literally releasing this film for the first time worldwide a few months ago in April, and we were doing that from a hospital room, not knowing that as soon as the event ended, she would be transitioned to hospice. And it was one of the most traumatic experiences of our life. But I share that not to bring people into the pain, but to say what was really amazing is that we started to get emails because we told our community a little bit after she passed what happened. They didn't hear from us after the event as we had intended. And so people were kind of like, oh gosh, this was really amazing, but we haven't even heard from you. And so we let everyone know we're grieving. This is such a shock to us to lose Dana's mom. And over again, people said, because you and Dana have taken us on the journey with you the last few years as you've created this film and you've let us into this space of the vulnerability with Dana and her dad, and sort of like shared little updates here and there, which sometimes are really scary because you don't know like how much people will hold that with care, but we just lead with our hearts. And over, people told us, I feel like I'm grieving with you, as if I've just lost a family member because I feel that connected to you guys. Or they would say, I know where you are, and then give us words of encouragement and support. And I'm talking like hundreds of emails from people who said, I lost my parents, and I know what that's like. I lost my mom unexpectedly and don't expect just to feel better right away. And so for me, that really showed like we believe we're filmmakers, and this is the identity, the thing I call myself, and a storyteller and all this. But this film is like an energy all its own, and it is bringing together people throughout the world that are seeking community. And I think that is so profound that a film has the power to do that, not only to touch people's hearts and inspire them in different ways, but also to bring them together and build bridges and remind people in different walks of life that maybe we're not all that different from each other, from nature, from life. And so, yeah, I say that because this event we're doing right now comes with a lot of intention. We knew we also had to give ourselves a little bit of time to process. And the truth is, I was like, not even able to be very creative the last few months because grief just like kicks you on your ass. Sorry for the language. And you do your best to move through things. We love Tony Robbins and we listen to like different motivational things, but it's just like this unwelcome friend that you have to embrace. And so, this event, as we share this film, it's really like honoring her parents and sort of believing in this idea of community and people's hearts coming together, not because it's about us, but because it's about love, as you so beautifully said. So, this is the second time we've ever shared Rescued Hearts with the world. We have an incredibly generous supporter who has helped us get the film into 18 languages. And I'll tell you, during our last event, in the same day, I had an email from someone in Palestine and an email from someone in Israel, and they had both just watched the film. That blows my mind because we didn't even know what would happen as we got the film translated. And so now we have even more languages available. We're hearing from people all over the world. So, what you need to know, this is my long way of saying what you need to know is that you simply have to purchase access to watch the film by August 10th. If you don't remember anything else, it's that August 10th. We have a website, rescuedheartsfilm.com, and there's a place where you can click watch, learn more. We sort of break down the mechanics of that. But once you do that, you're going to have 30 days to experience the film. So it's sort of like a rental, but it is an event in that we have a deadline. And the reason we have that deadline is because we were putting all our energy and all our heart into empowering community screenings around the world. Because when the film is experienced in person, there's nothing like it. And it's raising awareness and raising funds and raising energy for organizations who are doing this work, who really desperately need more support or just want more and more people to understand what's possible in connecting with horses. So go on our website, Rescued Hearts Film, purchase by August 10th. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, but you are going to have 30 days of access. And the other really cool thing that we didn't have last time is you can gift the film to anyone, a friend, family member. The platform we use, Kinema, has made that really simple. And so we're just interested in creating access all over the world. We have discount codes, especially for people that are international. We do have a sliding scale for pricing, but if even the lowest price is still too difficult, we have discount codes, we have hardship, complimentary tickets. So we just want to spread more love, hope, and healing. And this is the way we're doing it. It's at Rescued Hearts Film. That was my long answer to
Can I add one more
you.
thing?
Yeah.
The other thing that's unique about this worldwide virtual offering of being able to watch our film is that we are going to have an experience with our community on August 8th. We are going to bring the community together, anybody who wants to join us over Zoom, to have a time of reflection with the filmmakers, and several people that are in the film are going to join that day as well. So I think it would be a beautiful time to have community come together and just be with each other and reflect with each other, or ask any questions they may have about the film or the filmmaking journey. Very excited about the opportunity to have that community gathering.
I want to just tell you, ladies, how proud I am of both of you and for acknowledging how hard life is and to take committed action on a dream or a goal when you know that there's going to be public scrutiny or you putting all your eggs in a basket hoping that it will be received. For my audience that's listening, I have passed communication back and forth with Dana prior to today, and we were going to do a podcast recording months back. And then she sent me an email and said, I cannot, don't have the capacity. My mom's just died. And so we had exchanged a number of emails in between. And before we hit record today, I passed my condolences on, obviously, for this. And I don't want anyone to think that I am being insensitive by just asking the question and not doing it. And I wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge my mistake in that.
No mistake. I just had to go there for my heart. No mistake.
I love that you did. But what I want to anchor for so many people is you've just demonstrated in real time. What does love look like? What does
Mm.
unity look like? What does compassion look like? And the two of you are in a business relationship, you're in a filmmaking relationship, and you're in an intimate love relationship. And I want the audience to watch this. And if you're not in this level love, then you've got some work to do because this is what it looks like where we share each other's trials and tribulations and successes. I want to go back for a final question and ask each of you. And Krisanna, you've kind of answered this. And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to really reflect on what was some of the biggest moments, and you could share any of them. But I would love to know what was your greatest takeaway from This actually, I've got your question will be different, Krisanna. I was going to ask you, Dana, what is your greatest takeaway from this movie and the experience of being with the horses, bringing it to the world, the 50 different releases that you've done, the awards, the accolades, the everything. And then, Krisanna, I would love to know, how has this movie, this journey, these horses, and all the before mentioned accolades, how did it change your relationship? So, Dana.
Ooh. You have great questions. I think what I find the most profound about going on the journey of creating Rescued Hearts, from the moment that I had the idea, that the name came to me, the concepts, and then convincing Krisanna that it was a good idea to make a film about the healing power of horses, all the way through to completing that journey in 2.5 years of bringing together stories from all over the world of people's lives being transformed, and then sharing it for the first time at a world premiere with the longest standing ovation that film festival had ever seen, to then going on a community screening tour for a year of over 50 places and watching people experience what we created. I don't know if there are really any words that I can use to describe what I've taken in from that experience from beginning to end, other than the power of following our hearts and believing in those nudges and that intuition. Because, before creating films, I was in corporate America for 20 plus years and doing work that I felt good about doing, but my soul wasn't singing. And I could have had every excuse under the sun for not taking that step. We didn't have money. We had no social media following. We had no idea who was even going to care about the topic. And yet something in me continued to call and to just nudge and to push me into a direction that felt really uncomfortable at the time. And I think when you follow your heart unquestionably and you take the leap, the net will continue to appear. And all of a sudden, people were excited about what we were creating, and our social media platforms started to increase, and people were excited, and we just shared authentically. And I think before you know it, you have a community of people who are behind you because it's something that is real and it's authentic and it's genuine, and you have so much passion for it. And so if I had to really sum up what I learned from this experience, was to continue to follow my heart and to not allow all of these potential reasons why this wasn't going to work get in the way. And I read something the other day about filmmaking, and it's like creating the film for an audience of one. Well, who was that audience? It was us. What did we care about more than anything? It was this journey. And it wasn't even the film that we made. It's the film that made us. Who did we become in the process of creating the thing? Whether it was wildly successful or it failed. At some point, it didn't matter anymore. It was, who did we become in that process? And I think that was the whole thing. So whether we're on stages with packed theaters, 350 people, sold out, standing ovations, is that what I wanted out of all of this? And people around the world, excited to see the film? Absolutely yes. I could dream of that day. In fact, it actually puts me into heart coherence if I go back into those spaces and I'm in with those people that just experienced the film. That's healing to my soul, today. But it's because I followed my heart. That's really the end of it. And whatever was going to be the outcome was going to be for my greatest and highest good, for my evolution and growth, even if it was painful. And trust me, there were so many painful things along the way, but we never gave up. And now here we are, sharing an award-winning film with the world. And it's changing lives, healing hearts.
Well, I love this conversation so much. And I really appreciate this question because the first thing that came to me is the thing I'm going to share. And it was like this still small voice that said, it's okay to be me. And I think all my life I've been desperately seeking that place. And so I feel like I had that in my relationship with Dana, because that's what you asked about. How has this changed our relationship? Dana is a force, as you can see. Her heart, I tell her she's a walking heart. Her love could heal the whole world. I can't even believe I'm on the receiving end of that. But what she told me at the beginning of our relationship is the entire reason why our production company is named what it is. So the production company is called Live Wild Films. And we named it that really because of Dana, because she said to me, this will work if you love me, but leave me wild, which is an Atticus quote. And I don't know that I really understood fully what that meant. And I think that's maybe a lifelong exploration. But as we embarked on this journey of creating the film, our love has just grown deeper and deeper and stronger and truer. And I realized how it's the foundation that gives us the strength to make decisions that other people might consider crazy or that don't always make sense on paper or like don't always make sense with a budget. But we trust because we know that what we have together will carry us through. Like she's my home. And then in that place of being around horses and kind of like digging deeper into myself, I realized not only is it beautiful, like authenticity is a gift, but it's maybe the greatest gift. And telling that still small, person inside of me that's still scared, reminding my inner child, like, it's okay to be you. Even the horses love you there. Even if other people struggle, like the horses don't care. They actually want to meet you here. It's such an amazing gift. And it's like, it's probably the greatest gift of my life. I wish for every single person on the planet that they could experience this kind of love. And I know how much we had to fight to get here. What we've not shared with anyone that I'll tell you, because we're friends now, Rudi, is just like a month after Dana's mom passed, she injured her foot. And for the last 5 weeks, she hasn't even been able to walk. Like she's in her office because of a knee scooter. And about 4 weeks ago, I injured my same foot differently hiking. And so we have these really interesting injuries at the same time. And as I'm getting better, I'm like caring for her. And every step is hard. We feel like we're finally getting help, but Western medicine has really failed us, which we knew that, but you have to kind of go through the process. But in that, I find like this deepening of our love and connection. And it shows me, like, I tell Dana, this is the life I choose every day because you're my home every day. And then as we create, I feel it's just an expression of that. But even in the strength of that, I have to do the work of finding that love for myself, for that little scared inner child that I have that's still asking, do I deserve to be here? Will you love me even when I'm scary? And so that's my work. And then that continues to reinforce the connection that we have. And I just feel like I want to spread that love throughout the planet, not relational love, but like the gift of giving ourselves that love. And then when we're doing the dance with other people, I think it's like the greatest miracle. I think it just heals. It's like the ripple of healing that we all need, is all of us expressing that love for ourselves, for each other, and for all that is nature, life.
Gosh, I am a lover of love, and I am so honored to have bared witness to this conversation today. I think about all of the people that have watched this incredible movie and how they would have just wanted to have a conversation with you. And I selfishly get to have this conversation with you today. Thank you to both of you for doing the work. Thank you for being brave enough to put yourselves out there. Thank you for, even though life can be hard, finding the joy and the meaning and the value in each and all of them, and continuing just to show us what does it look like in what we call the messy life. I love to say life is lifing, and we're always going to be experiencing something, but it's how we experience it. So from my heart to yours, I love both of you with every fiber of my being. Thank you for being you. To my audience, I want to say thank you for spending some time with us here today. Thank you for going over to Rescue Hearts and watching this incredible body of work. And more than that, I'm going to double dog dare you to buy this for a friend and share it to them, because we get to spread love and we get to heal the world one moment at a time. And this is going to be one of them. I would love to hear from you. Share with me what was your greatest takeaway from today's episode from these two powerful women who are in their own right creating a profound ripple effect out and in the world, something we're all wanting to deeply within our souls achieve. I love you so much, and I'll catch you in the next episode of the Empowered Life podcast. Till then, goodbye, everybody. If this episode gave you clarity, peace, or a perspective shift, hold on to that. And here is how you lock it in. Subscribe so that you keep building momentum week after week. And if you're the kind of person that believes a good message should travel, please leave a review. Reviews aren't just ratings. They're signals that help this reach the people who are ready for it. And then share this episode with somebody you love, someone you lead, or somebody that you were rooting for. Links are in the show notes so that you can connect with me online and on Instagram. Now go out there and take one beautiful, bold, and aligned step and make it count. I'm going to catch you on the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast.